Hi, my name is Nick Weiss. I am the founder and managing attorney of MT Weiss Law, with offices in South Euclid and Elyria, serving the greater Cleveland area in family law, real estate, estate planning, and administration. I want to give an update on our real estate side. The Ohio legislature, signed by the governor, put in place new disclosure rules for wholesalers. So for the purposes of the statute, a wholesaler is someone who is purchasing a residential property, and that is a property that has an improved building where people are going to live, between 1 and 4 units, and then intend to transfer the contract for that purchase to another person who is not for family, not for someone related, for profit, right? They intend to make money on this. Even if they don't actually end up making money on it, the intention is to make money on this, right? They're taking a cut. Maybe it's a percentage. Maybe they are selling for a flat amount to someone else. So every once in a while, the Ohio legislature tries to regulate this further, usually at the behest of various realtor groups, real estate agency groups, who largely see wholesalers as competition. And there are fewer regulations on wholesalers. There's no licensing requirement. There's nothing that's there. So now there are some requirements on this. So the big one that has just been put in place is disclosure. There's mandatory language, and we have this associated with this video and on our blog, what the mandatory language is. That has to be its own separate sheet. And this can be by DocuSign too, that's fine. But it has to be its own separate document, whether it's attached to a purchase agreement or what's executed separately, that discloses that the person buying this property is a wholesaler and that it is their intention to sell this property to someone else, to sell the contract to someone else for a profit. The ultimate buyer is not going to be the person who has entered into this purchase agreement. Putting the disclosure on is pretty easy, right? You can copy paste the language and you have complied with this, but the consequences for not complying are pretty extensive. So the consequences are up to the point of closing, where there's actually a dispersal of escrow funds. If there has been no disclosure, then the seller can cancel the contract without penalty, without anything else. And importantly, if there was any earnest money that was deposited, the seller gets to keep it. So if you put some money down to reserve this contract and you didn't make the disclosure, they can just breach and take the money. Additionally, the legislature has decided that a failure to provide this disclosure or violate any other part of the wholesaler statute is a per se violation, knowing violations of Ohio's Consumer Sales Practices Act. And that's the big, right? If you don't make this disclosure, because the Consumer Sales Practices Act says that a consumer, in this case the seller, right, can sue for 3 times the compensatory damages that they would have had, plus $5,000 in non-economic damages, plus attorney's fees. And this is a major exception. For the most part, the CSPA explicitly, Consumer Sales Practices Act, does not affect or imply real estate transactions, period. Doesn't apply. This is an exception to that general prohibition. So if you don't make this disclosure, not only can the seller rescind the transaction and get the earnest money, they can also sue you, and sue you directly. They can pierce the entity that you have used here, come against you personally for 3 times the value of the dispute. Okay? This is a requirement that is extremely easy to comply with, and the consequences for not complying with it are devastating. So please, if you want a wholesaler, do it. And if you're not sure you're a wholesaler, then you're a wholesaler. Don't take the risk. If your intention is, I'm going to resell this residential property, I'm going to sell this contract to someone else, and they're going to be the ultimate buyer, and I'm going to make some money, you're a wholesaler, and you need this disclosure. So if you have any other questions, if you would like more guidance on this, or maybe you're a seller who has gone through the process and a wholesaler did not make this disclosure, give us a call. We're happy to talk through your options.